Hey, this is Stephen Clark for Upshift Online. Today we're going to talk about this 2001 Suzuki DR650 project bike. So when I started doing modifications to this bike, I really wanted to be careful not to go too crazy in any one area, but just to kind of elevate everything on the bike. I didn't really want to go too crazy with different really intense modifications like big bore kits or fork swaps or things like that, because a lot of times when you start modifying one area of the bike too much, it exposes the weaknesses of the other parts of the bike. And honestly, at the end of the day, this is still an oil-cooled, very simple motorcycle, affordable motorcycle. So I didn't really feel like it would make a whole ton of sense to go dump a ton of money into it when it really kind of is what it is. You know, if a guy wants a really awesome single-cylinder dual sport bike and has the budget, go buy a 701 or a KTM 690, you know. You can get that right off the showroom floor. So with that being said, we want to take this DR and just kind of elevate every area of the bike. So when we started, we wanted to get a little bit more horsepower out of it. And so for that, we talked to the guys at ProCycle. They are absolute wizards when it comes to DR650s. They sell more parts for this motorcycle than you could imagine. So we called up the guys at ProCycle and said, what would be the one thing you would do to this bike that makes the biggest difference? And their simple answer was put on the TM40 pumper carburetor. ProCycle sell this TM40 kit, which comes with the carburetor, the adapters. It makes it just an easy bolt-on modification. So we went with that kit, and then while we're at it, we also added a Pro Circuit silencer for this bike. And then we lucked out, had a buddy that had a newer DR650, and he had an extra stainless steel header laying around. So we got that, and switched out the mild steel header for a stainless steel header and added that. So once we got a little bit more performance out of the engine, we started working on the handling of the bike. So for this, we turned to our buddy Brock Butters at Brockstar Suspension, who he revalved and resprung the forks and the shock in this bike just to make it a little bit better for more aggressive riding, keep it a little bit higher in the stroke. The stock suspension was really soft and kind of sagged out, so just a little bit higher spring rate and freshening it up really helped the handling a lot. We also installed a fork brace from Warp 9 just to add a little bit of stiffness to the front end. And then we started working on the controls. So we also went with another product from Warp 9. It was a 1.1/8" riser block, which allows us to use an 1.1/8" fatty motocross style bar. This really did a lot to clean up the controls of the bike. And then we installed a set of foot pegs from IMS and a gear shifter. Larger foot pegs, just a little bit more coverage, a little bit more stability for standing on the bike. And then we did some wheels, just basically to give the bike a lot better look, and also the stock rims are a little dinged up, so we decided to freshen them up. On the front, we ended up going with a Warp 9 rim and Warp 9 spoke kit, and we were able to use the stock hub. And then on the rear, we weren't able to use the stock hub, so we ended up doing a complete wheel from Warp 9. And for tires, we went with Continental TKC 80s. We felt this tire has a pretty good mix of on-highway versus off-highway performance for the type of riding we're going to be doing on this bike. Next up, we wanted to add a little bit of fuel range to the bike. So we're going to be doing fairly long days on this bike, so we need fuel range and also the comfort for those long days in the saddle. So we went with IMS for a larger fuel tank, and then a Seat Concept seat. Also, we did a Baja Works windshield. So this windshield is pretty cool. It's like a rally style windshield. It bolts onto the stock headlight mask. Very easy installation. Gives you a little bit of wind protection when you're going down the highway. This bike will be ridden quite a bit of the time off-road, so we needed to add some protection to it. So we added a set of bark busters from Achirby's, and then also from Achirby's skid plate. It's a plastic skid plate, which will be really thick, sturdy, which will add quite a bit of protection coverage to the bike when we're out in the rocks, that type of thing. Another area of the bike that needed improvement was the brakes. So from my road racing days, I know that probably the single most effective thing you can do to improve a bike's braking system is adding a set of stainless steel brake lines. So for that, we reached out to our friends at Galfer. They sent us some stainless steel brake lines, front and rear, and then we freshened it up with some fresh fluid and a new set of pads. We need to add a little bit of storage to the bike for carrying some tools, maybe an inner tube, maybe a snack or two, nothing too large. So Giant Loop have this really cool Klamath tail bag that attaches back there. For some of the longer rides we'll go on, we'll likely add a larger set of bags, probably like one of those horseshoe style bags. But for mainly the day rides that we're doing, this Giant Loop pack should do really well for us. Another area of the bike that we spent a lot of time on was the electrical system. So we really wanted to clean up the dash and the way this looks. So we removed the stock analog gauge and the instrument lights, and we replaced that with a TrailTech Vapor digital display, and that comes with a really cool dash that allows you to add your neutral safety light, your turn signal lights, and the headlight light. So we wired that all in, gives it a really clean finished look. And then we also changed out the stock switch gear. The stock switches are really big and bulky, so we went with a start and stop switch from a KTM, and then a universal headlight, turn signal, and horn switch from Tusk. So unfortunately, these products were not a direct replacement, direct bolt-on for this bike, so they did require a little bit of wiring. So we spent more time than I would have liked studying wiring diagrams and testing out different things, but I think we finally got it dialed in. It was nice. We also added a set of TrailTech LED lights up front with a JNS Engineering light mount. This mounts on top of the fender. Also, we have an Acerbis front Supermoto fender. It's a little bit smaller and gives the bike a little bit better style than what it had stock. Also, when we were working on the controls, we added a double take rear view mirror from our buddy Ned. This is a really cool mirror because it allows you to lift it up or put it back down when you're riding on-road or off-road, and it's super sturdy and take a lot of abuse. Overall, I'm really happy with how this bike turned out. It was quite a bit of work getting the engine done, and some of the wiring took a little bit longer than what I'd hoped, but I feel like the overall bike performs much better than it did before. And as I said at the start of this, the whole goal wasn't to improve one certain area of the bike which may expose other things, faults with the bike. It was more just to take every component on the bike and just incrementally make it better. So I feel like we really did this as a whole package. Every part of the bike, from the suspension to the wheels to the braking to the engine performance, it's all just incrementally better than it was stock. For more information on this bike build, be sure to check out upshiftonline.com.